Welcome, y'all. It's Wes with DIY Food Plot Pro. Thank you so much for joining us. We are out in the sunflower plot that we planted earlier in the year. This has really come along well. We've started to get flower right at the top. We've got some issues out here, but overall, it looks really, really good. I think we're going to have a lot of doves to hunt over this sunflower field here. This kind of leads me into a discussion on one of the most important food plots that very few people are planting. My name's Wes. I run the channel DIY Food Plot Pro. I've got a Bachelor of Science in Agronomy. I farm for a living, and I've got an 1,800 acre whitetail deer hunting outfitter in Western Kentucky where we cannot bait. So we rely heavily on these food plots to hunt the bucks that we are blessed to hunt here in Western Kentucky. A lot of us are looking at food plots as either a springtime deal or a fall plot. That's the two basic times. So we're looking at corn, soybeans, cowpeas, sorghums, things like that on the spring side of things. And then the fall side, you know, we're looking at those brassicas, those cereal grains, annual and perennial clovers, things like that. Why are we talking about that out in the sunflower field? Because sunflowers are one of the most preferred food sources that are out there. Deer absolutely love them in the springtime, all the way up to this point right here. But this is quickly changing. And while this is just a little bit early to be planning the plots that I'm fixing to tell you about, I wanted to tell you about them so that you have some time to prepare and get these ready if you haven't already. These late summer, early fall food plots that are high in protein are absolutely critical to holding whitetails on your property that last couple months, month and a half out of the growing season. And the reason for that is, as plants get bigger, protein levels typically drop and digestibility typically drops. Okay, so the plants that they're eating have lower protein and they don't digest them as well. So what whitetails are after is that young, tender growth. By planting these late summer, early fall food plots, we are giving those whitetails what they're needing that time of the year to finish them off. A lot of times the plots that we planted in the spring are still providing some, but the protein levels are dropping, digestibility is dropping. So it's real common around here. We have what we call single crop beans and what we call double crop beans. Single crop beans is you go in early and you plant those April to May, and they're already about waist high right now in my neck of the woods. Then you have what they call double crop beans, and those are, they plant the wheat in the fall, and then they harvest it about this time of the year, about mid-June, and then they come in and they plant beans behind it, okay? So you get two crops off that farm in 1 year. The reason I'm telling you that, why that's relevant, is you can have deer that are going to be on soybeans, like I hope you can see those kind of behind me. We're in a field of soybeans. We're just in a corner of sunflowers. You can have a field of soybeans that the deer are in, and they're hammering it. And then all of a sudden, the farm or two close to you gets cut to wheat and planted in beans. You're going to lose a lot of those deer. It happens to me every single year. If I have a farm that's a double crop farm, I know I'm going to have whitetails on that during the early part of that hunting season, that late summer, early fall time period, because those whitetails are going to seek those smaller soybeans, that higher protein, higher digestibility out when that's planted. And I don't know how they know, but they just know. I did this on a plot here last year. I planted two different places of a late summer food plot. I planted it in Lablab and soybeans. And it was unbelievable the attraction that those two plots got, really not located in the best areas, really on the outskirts of areas, pretty close to houses, just two places that for farming don't really make sense. I keep them out for food plots. I planted them last year late and they did unbelievably well. We harvested a tremendous amount of does off those two plots early in the year, and that's what we were trying to do. We didn't want to go in deep where our bucks were at. We were trying to stay on the outside of our property, and those two plots really helped us have that advantage in a no baiting state. Now, we can't bait in West Kentucky. So those two plots were 100% key in pulling deer into our area. And I've hunted those spots without a food plot on both of them. And I'm telling you right now, there's absolutely no comparison between a no plot versus a plot. consistency of whitetails coming to that plot every single afternoon to hit that high protein food source. The Lablab soybeans grew really well together. I would go ahead and get the Lablab inoculant so that it can fix its own nitrogen. The soybeans, I think, provided that later on in the growing season for the Lablab. The soybeans got bigger, but they really did good together in a good combination. So I would encourage you, if you have it, to try one of these late summer, early fall food plots with high in protein. They really can be killer, and they can really help your whitetail herd and keep those deer on your property consistently. So what food plots can we plant in these late summer food plots? I like to plant a late maturing soybean. So I'm looking at a 4.8, 5.0 in my neck of the woods. I don't necessarily want that soybean production, the actual seed, because we likely don't have time to make that seed. I'm looking at planting these around the 1st of July to maybe mid-July in my area, with the first frost date going to be around mid-October. So this is a great time to go ahead and get those out and plant those for those whitetails. Those 4.8 to 5.0 varieties are likely not going to have time to make the actual seed, but what they're going to do is they're going to end up staying green all the way up until mid-October. Well, in Kentucky, our season starts the first Saturday in September. So I'm going to get 6 weeks of hunting over that food plot before it's terminated. And easily you could go in there and you could add brassicas, cereal grains, annual clovers to any of those plots and further enhance them to give those whitetails more options, make that food plot go for a longer period of time to have preferred food source for those whitetails. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Smash that like and subscribe button.